When my roommate came home, he was livid. He actually did a no, like in the movies. He knew it was me and accused me of making him waste 100 hours of his life on nothing, and that he would have to start the game over again. Good morrow, fellow Fantascapists, it's Val here, and in this video we're going to be reading and judging some Reddit posts. Today's theme is Baldurs Gate 3, a D&D inspired RPG where you get to build your own character, fight your way to the top where you get to combat a crazy brain, and of course, romance some of your companions. All of a sudden I feel this sudden, strong urge to pine about my ex-girlfriend and scold you about licking a dead spider? I spent 3 hours just to get into this cosplay. First story. Am I the a-hole for considering ending my relationship because my boyfriend had in-game before my character could in our Baldurs Gate 3 playthrough? Hey Reddit, I found myself in a rather awkward situation and I'm seeking some advice. My boyfriend, 28-year-old male, and I, 26-year-old female, have been happily together for a year, bonding over our shared love for video games. Lately, we've been immersed in Baldurs Gate 3, and a peculiar issue has emerged that's making me question our relationship. Here's the catch. My boyfriend has developed a reputation in the game for being rather amorous with the companions. While I understand that role-playing is a part of the gaming experience, the issue is that he's taken things a step further and had in-game smoosh with one of the companions before my character even had the chance. I've tried to discuss my feelings with him, expressing how this makes me uncomfortable and frankly a bit hurt. It's not about being prudish, but it feels like he's prioritizing virtual relationships over ours, especially when he's progressing further with the companions in the game than I am. His argument is that it's all a part of the game's narrative and he's just exploring the storyline. However, knowing that his character has been intimate with one of the companions before my character even had the opportunity makes me question the dynamics of our relationship. Now, I'm seriously contemplating ending things over this, but I'm torn. Am I overreacting? Should I accept that it's just a game and not a reflection of our relationship? Or is it reasonable for me to feel hurt and consider taking a step back? I want to make sure I'm not being irrational. So Reddit, am I the a-hole for considering ending my relationships because my boyfriend had in-game smoosh before my character could in Baldur's Gate 3? I'm a little conflicted. I have to read this over again and I'm gonna get back to you. Okay, I've read this over again and I feel like there's some information that's just missing. I think she mentions that her boyfriend has been rather amorous with the companions, so I assume that this situation happened before and the boyfriend's not letting her romance the companions because he always gets to them first. That's sort of my understanding, because if it was just the one time, I wouldn't be so upset about it. It's not about being prudish, but it feels like he's prioritizing virtual relationship over ours, especially when he's progressing further with the companions in the game than I am. Yeah, so she says companions. It sounds like it could be that he's taking all of the companions for himself, basically. And I'm not sure if she means him prioritizing virtual relationships over theirs, as in he's not taking her feelings into consideration to let her romance the character, or if she's just upset that he's romancing characters online and he should be focusing on her. I think it's the first one that I mentioned, but let's see. I want to read the comments. Not the a-hole, immediate divorce and restraining order. What? Where am I? What's happening? Immediate divorce and restraining order? Huh? Guys, it's a game. I'm so confused. Am I missing some kind of extra information in there? Another comment. Man is literally cocking his girlfriend in Baldur's Gate 3. And OP replies to this. That's what I'm saying. Like, he can get any NPC, yet he won't let me have mine. Yes, okay, so yeah, I think from this comment, it does seem like she just had the one character that she wanted to romance and he went ahead and romanced it before she could, and she's upset about it. If it happened several times, I get why she would be upset about it, but I feel like relationships, communication is very important and voicing your feelings is very important. She has done so, and All he said was that he thinks is just the narrative and that he just wants to explore the storyline. I think this is an a-hole move, because if your partner is expressing that they would really love to romance this character and you literally have everybody else that you can imagine to romance, then why not just take your girlfriend's feelings into consideration and just let her do it? Would I break up with the person over this? No. However, it sounds like there may be some other issues that were in place for this. It seems a little bit overboard to break up with someone over this one thing that happened. It feels like there may be more situations that happened with that person in this relationship that's making her question it, and this is just something that just like happened most recently. He's toxic. He's serving you a million red flags. Leave him and don't tell him either. Just pack up your stuff one day while he's at work and refuse to tell him why you're upset. He can figure it out himself. I feel like people are being a little bit too critical here. Unless there were more stories she posted in the past about him. This is a big, long comment. There is a downvote on it, but I want to read this one because I feel like I don't disagree with the previous comment. I just also don't agree with it. We don't know a lot of information about what's been going on. There's not like a very specific example and a very specific description of what exactly went down when they talked. I could be wrong. And you can let me know and scream at me if you don't think the same way. If it feels like he's consistently prioritizing virtual relationships over yours, then this is definitely an issue. If it's just that he's progressing in the game faster, you're in the wrong. He's playing the game. Is he playing more often than you? Is he speedrunning or just progressing plot-wise faster? Unless you're playing multiplayer, you should both be at different points plot-wise. It's dumb to think you both should be at the same point at the same time all the time, especially in a game with so many choices. I think the best course of action for you is maybe to take a break from the game for a bit. I was in the same situation playing around my partner and they progressed much faster than me. Your relationship needs to be more than the game, you know? Focus on the good things unless this is a consistent issue. You know, it's funny to me that this is the one comment that has the downvote in it, and this is the most reasonable comment that I have read in this thread. This person is trying to see it from both points of view, is telling them, well, if this is something that you have felt in the past and this is what it's feeling like to you, then yeah, maybe it's worth it to consider ending the relationship. But if it's just this and the person's progressing faster than you, then maybe you're in the wrong. I can't believe people downvoted on this one. OP replied to this comment. We're playing together in my gameplay. I don't have an issue when he's playing alone and progressing faster. It's only when we're playing together on my campaign that I found this to be a problem. Are you both trying to romance the same NPC at the same time? Is this getting competitive? No, I let him have Shadowheart because he has a thing for goth girls, but he gets mad if I try to escalate things with another NPC. Okay, well that's toxic. This is really weird. Is he stopping you from romancing any NPC? That's very hypocritical. I understand if it's the hypocrisy or controlling action. That's a big red flag both in and out of gameplay. Yes. Now that we have more information, that's toxic. Him getting mad over her romancing somebody in the game and him romancing everybody else is incredibly toxic. This is very big double standards. This is actually kind of insane. That's what I'm starting to think. After a year, I feel like I know this man, but then this happened and I'm seeing red flags. I feel like I know I should leave him. The person replies, then you're not the a-hole at all. People can hide who they are sometimes. I'd say trust your gut. Let me know if you end up breaking up. Best of luck with everything. This was a great discussion. I'm so glad I scrolled down because this was the last comment. They got to the bottom of things, and from all of that information we just got, I think the girlfriend at the very least needs to have a conversation with this man, because if he gets mad that she's romancing somebody in the game while he's romancing a bunch of other people, that's a concern, I would say. She also mentions that their relationship is a year long. After about a year is when people start showing their true colors. This is a big red flag, because that could turn into real life situations where there's jealousy with real people and it's never fun. So definitely something to explore for the OP, and at this point I can truly say that they're not the a-hole. Next story. Am I the a-hole for playing ahead in Baldurs Gate 3? My 22-year-old female boyfriend, 21-year-old male, are having an argument about the new released game Baldurs Gate 3, and I need a little bit of outside perspective here. So context. I've been hyped about Baldur's Gate 3 since it was released in its early beta stages on Steam. I told my boyfriend about it and he didn't seem as hyped as me. Ever since, I waited a painstaking 3 years for the game's full release, which was on August 3rd, 2023. I told my boyfriend that I was excited to play Baldur's Gate with him too, along with playing it by myself. I've been so hyped in the past month, and in turn, he started getting interested as well. I was glad he was getting interested as I was excited to play with him as well. I told him that when the game comes out that I would play with him, but I would also play ahead on my own single-player account because I knew we wouldn't be able to play as much as I wanted to in co-op. I really didn't want to have to wait for both of us to be free to play, which is why I made 2 playthroughs, one single-player campaign and one co-op campaign. Fast forward to today, and I get ready to play some Baldur's Gate with him. He asks me how far am I? And I tell him I'm 30 hours in, but only on my single-player account. All of a sudden, he tells me how disappointed he was in me for playing ahead on my own. I tried to explain that it was my own personal account, but not our co-op one. He said it didn't matter because I knew the story, so we didn't get to experience it together anymore. He didn't want to play with me anymore at this point. After this argument, I told him I would delete my single-player account I spent 30 hours on so that I wouldn't feel tempted to play any more Baldur's Gate without him. As painful as this was, I deleted it because I wanted to respect his wants. He still wasn't satisfied, and now I'm left here wondering if I'm the a-hole here. By the way, from her narration, it sounds like she warned him that she was gonna play ahead with her own playthrough. That would have been the point for him to tell her that he would like her to only play with him. That could have been a good conversation, but he didn't say anything. 30 hours in Baldur's Gate is actually not that much. You could spend 30 hours in just the Druid's Grove itself, and that wouldn't even cover much. Why can't he have his own playthrough? She have her own playthrough, and they both have a playthrough together. Every time you play it, you can get very different circumstances and very different experiences. It just sounds so immature and childish of the boyfriend to be upset about this and then basically have her delete the whole thing. She is not the a-hole. That is my verdict. Let's go into the comments. Not the a-hole. You told him you were going to have 2 playthrough accounts. Playing single doesn't change playing co-op. Not the a-hole, the game is massive. 30 hours is nothing in the grand scheme of things. I have 130 hours in early access. I think in my first playthrough I had around 200 hours in the game, so it's a big game. I don't think the partner understands how big of a scale this game is. It's massive. Not the a-hole. He is throwing off controlling vibes, but can't say for sure of just this post. That's exactly what I'm trying to say here. But even so, with such an intricate game as Baldur's Gate, not every game will be played exactly the same. If you have different characters in your parties, the lines will probably be different, etc. There's so many ways to personalize your experience through co-op versus solo play. I can't believe you would sink your hard-earned 30 hours version. That's a grind. Your boyfriend needs to grow up. Oh my god, this person thinks like me. All the points that I said, this person said it, just better. Next comment. Not the a-hole. Of course, this is heavily biased as a fan of both of the Divinity Original Sin titles from which Baldur's Gate 3 design was derived, as well as the same developer, as well as huge fan of the Baldur's Gate franchise ever since its debut in the late 90s. I feel like this person was trying to flex their knowledge a little bit here. I would not have been able to restrain myself either, having waited so long for it, and it sounds as if your boyfriend should have been aware of this from very early on. What's more besides, if he isn't hyped about it like you were since he was involved with its early access, why is he so invested all of a sudden in the both of you seeing it at the same pace? I agree. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not exploding myself to please my ex-girlfriend? I, 32-year-old male, suffer from an illness that I developed while I was in a relationship with my ex-girlfriend, 2,000-year-old female. The relationship was toxic. And years after we broke it off and I started dating my current partner, let's call them Tav, 28, of a few weeks I met one of my best friends who is my ex-girlfriend's coworker, 472-year-old male. He told me, my ex found a way to stop my condition from deteriorating, but she wants me to blow myself up and take out everything in 24-kilometer blast radius. My partner convinced me that I shouldn't do it, and I decided to live and not turn into a magic nuke, and now my ex won't talk to me. Am I the a-hole? I really want to hear what you guys think on this one. It's very important to me, actually. for no particular reason. I would say this guy is not the a-hole because blowing yourself up is definitely something frowned upon. There are other ways of dealing with the situation. I feel like this person's not the a-hole and people need to go easy on him. Let's read the comments. Not the a-hole. Just enjoy your life. It seems like your ex is quite controlling, trying to have godlike powers over you, and you should not accept that. Anyway, she's not like an all-knowing entity. How would she know you haven't turned critical mass and exploded? And then there's a response to this. I'm very involved in this story, actually. While they're absolutely not the a-hole, I'm quite sure their ex, assuming they're living somewhat close by, would see or hear the explosion. You don't exactly need to be an to be an omnipotent being to know something like that is going off after all. And even if she's nowhere near him now, people would talk extensively about a giant explosion going off. Wait, they're not wrong, actually. I'm getting a little... Is it hot in here, guys? I'm getting a little anxious. Someone questioning, OP, what exactly is the reason you have this bomb in your chest? Not trying to stir, but it kind of seems like you don't know when to say no to an offer. Do you know when to say no? The promise of extra arcane power? I had a friend like this, let's call him Soulless. And he ended up hurting so many people around him because of his pursuit for power. It's a dangerous road, bro, but to be honest, I'm starting to wonder if you have no one to blame but yourself. I don't like this commenter. Not the a-hole, but this is also on you, man. Guess I'll take it. I guess they're right. Well, it is safe to say this person is definitely not the a-hole. They have a complicated relationship and they definitely require therapy. By possibly going to a nice library and sitting with a cat with wings named Tara. Before we move on to the next story, I just wanted to let you guys know that I do have a Patreon account where you guys can get extended versions of these videos, bonus content, exclusive content, and a bunch of different stuff depending on the tier you get. So please consider signing up. The link is in my bio. It's ValTheFantescapist, just like all my handles. Our next story. Am I the a-hole? I can't seem to stop cheating on... Gale. Hey everyone, so here's the problem. Every time I meet Gale, he comes off as arrogant and annoying. But he's kinda cute and I like smart guys, so I try to romance him. I catch him looking at a magical copy of himself and think that that's kinda weird. But whatever, I guess. He seems really obsessed with his ex still, which is kinda a red flag, but I just assume he'll eventually get over her. I shove a couple of magic items down his throat and we start to get closer. He tries to paternalistically teach me magic and I humor him cause guys tend to like that BS. He tells me he's really into me and I feel like things might actually go somewhere. And then Karlach or Lizelle or someone else starts giving me eyes, and before I know it, I'm being doomed by one of our resident muscle mommies, and Gale's all sad and wants me to choose between him or the others. So like I usually choose the others, because at this point he just reminds me of a sad little puppy dog, and part of me wants to comfort him, but another part of me wants to just sell him to that one dog trainer lady in Act 3. I don't know. And sometimes I've tried choosing him in the moment, but inevitably end up cheating again with Halsin or Mizora. Or someone later, and then he's even more upset. I don't know what's wrong, I just can't commit to this dude. Am I the a-hole? The fact that this person would go with Karlach, or Lizelle, Halsin, Mizora, all those people are not even smart. They don't know how to do magic as well as that said Gale does. He just takes time to open up and then he can show you the world in the weave. What about the weave? This person is definitely the a-hole. They will give a guy hope that finally he's found someone who will bring him out of his misery from this ex-girlfriend and possibly, just possibly, listen to his lectures on magic. And yet, this person cheats on him. You know, who does that? Let's see what the commenters are saying. I'm the opposite. I can't romance anyone else. I'm always like, try someone else's storyline. Next thing I know, I'm in the weave with Gale. Like, yeah, one more run with him won't hurt. I know the stuff about Mystra is annoying and I'm pretty sure he's making a magical copy of her, not himself. But when you think about it, he's probably traumatized because Mystra groomed him. He mentions he was a prodigy as a child and Mystra found him, started as a mentor, and then later became his lover, which is super gross. I wouldn't say that it's super gross. She's a goddess, she can do what she wants. But Gale ends up extremely devoted to you, and all the characters have their red flags when it comes to romance. It just depends on what you can or can't look past. He isn't for everyone, but I love his slower, more romantic questline. But I would say not the a-hole, it's your gameplay played in a way that makes you happy. Someone's saying he's looking at his mirror image to check for signs of metamorphosis. Exactly. It's not because he is self-absorbed and arrogant. Not the a-hole. But your tav is a big one. Unless they break up with Gale, which in itself is a sin, but that's just my opinion, before pursuing others. In my opinion, Gale is misunderstood and I like his romance rivals Astarion. I was just playing around. Of course, this person's not the a-hole for choosing their own gameplay. Okay, we're getting back to some real-life stories here. Baldurs Gate 3 made me dump my fiancé. I haven't fully admitted it to myself until now out of, for lack of a better word, cringe, but Baldurs Gate 3 was the silent killer of my 3.5-year relationship. In a good way. It wasn't my style at first, but I pushed through the foreign gameplay mechanics until I learned to love it. About 2 months and I was totally invested into this marvelous fantasy world and its shockingly in-depth character. I wasn't aware of the extent in which you could flesh out your relationships with your companions, so I had no intentions of romancing anyone. Until Gale showed me how to channel the weave. As this strange wizard womanizer and I journeyed through Faerun together, I found myself developing a genuine intimacy and attachment to him. These feelings caught me off guard and had me questioning my own sanity. But every time I logged out of the game and checked back into reality, my actual relationship had me questioning my sanity even more. I was already aware of the abusive relationship I was in, but I had spent the past year growing complacent with the physical violence, degrading, and manipulation because it was all I knew, and frankly I didn't have the energy to try to leave again. Each time I mustered the courage to stand up for myself, the night would end with my things scattered and broken around the house and bruises on my skin the next morning. After work, all I could think about was escaping into the warm embrace of my fictional companion and living viciously through my tab. Dare I say, I felt loved by someone after feeling nothing but numb for so long. Now, allow me to add that I understand the line between fantasy and reality, but it felt real enough to give me the intimacy and connection missing from my life. Real enough to make me realize that I do deserve someone who looks at me with nothing but love and compassion. Real enough to show me that I'm worthy of someone who is gentle and kind. 6 weeks ago, something inside me said enough, and I left and haven't looked back. Since then, I started the new Dirge playthrough romancing Astarion, and the similarities between my old relationship and his with Cazador have shaken me to my core. I've never resonated with someone so deeply in nearly every way. It's been pure cathartic release. I just want to say how much I appreciate Neil Newbon's voice acting and his genuine care for Astarion's character. I read that apparently his own personal experience went into the delivery and emotional impact of his lines. It played a huge role in the enlightening of my trauma after ending things with my abusive partner, and for that, I'm grateful. Edit, I love this community. That's insane. I'm so sorry for this OP. I've known a couple people who have gone through abusive relationships. I have had experiences that are a little bit milder myself, and it's not fun. It's not a great experience to go through, and it's really hard to leave it. And I'm really glad that Baldurs Gate 3 helped her. Someone's commenting here, just make sure you take some time before your next relationship, and if they don't respect your past struggles, then move on. You've already figured out what you're worth. Don't lose it. The Wizard of Waterdeep strikes again. The funny thing is, Gale reminds me of my current significant other. He's so caring, charming, full of sass and love. Sometimes I have to pause the game so I can go kiss him. I'm so happy for you, love. Here's to you and your new life. Media can be an absolutely valid place to find personal discovery from. Regardless of what that ends up meaning, in some ways I'm sorry you had to go through that. In other ways, happy you're on the other side. Best of luck! The main thing I always suggest is to be certain to supplement media discoveries with significant self-reflection, and bouncing ideas off of people you trust, such as friends, family, other mentors. Someone who isn't afraid to be honest with you. A therapist, if indicated. OP actually replies to that one. Thank you. I felt so much lighter and peace with myself. The last few months of our relationship I had spent emotionally detaching from him, subconsciously I guess, so I've been able to delve into the trauma through a sort of third-person perspective. I didn't know I was ready to leave him when I did, but the things he said to me that night 1,000 times before just happened to trigger me in a way that my body reacted before my mind could think, and I walked out. I still feel the adrenaline when I think back. Astarion is my choice of a companion in Baldur's Gate 3 pretty much every single time, and it made me kind of emotional, that last point about how she feels like she relates to him. I feel like a lot of people could, and I think that's why people romance him a lot, and Neil Newbon is a wonderful voice actor. I'm glad this person is out of that awful relationship, and then they have Baldur's Gate 3 as an escape. But just like a bunch of commenters say, fantasy escapism can be great, but you do need to sort of look at reality as well and treat your trauma, because going through all of the stuff that she went through, it's definitely going to leave a mark and it will need some kind of work. Last story. Am I the a-hole for going into my roommate's Baldur's Gate 3 game and throwing all his inventory down a cliff and deleting his prior saves since he ate my beans? What? I think I've actually heard this story before from Smosh, because they do Reddit reads as well, and I'm pretty sure I remember it being kind of insane. Let's get into it. I, 25-year-old male, like to order fancy beans and grains from a place called Rancho Gordo. They're called heirloom beans. Unlike most beans, they're not in a can. They are dry beans that you're meant to soak and cook properly, making very good protein-filled foods. Now, these beans are a little on the pricey side, and the bags they come in aren't large. On 3 times in this year, I have caught my roommate, 25-year-old male, cooking incorrectly my beans. He thinks that dried foods should be a shared resource. What? He never buys beans or any other kind of good dried food, never mind on an expensive kind. I told him to stop eating my beans. This week, I was looking forward to making a veggie chili with some of my good beans. I got home and seen the bag was empty. Like 2 or 3 beans in there. I became enraged. My roommate is obsessed with the video game Baldur's Gate 3. I seen him play it all the time. So when he was out, what I did is, I went into his game. You have 4 characters in your party, basically. So I went to this place where there is a cliff, and I dropped all of their gear, and then picked it up and threw it down the cliff. This took me a long time, like hours. And then I went back to his camp and changed the party with other members. And I went back to the cliff and did the same. And I did it until every single member of his party was naked and weaponless. And then I saved the game. And then I deleted all of his prior autosaves. So the only save file was the one where his gear was down a cliff. This is the next level of petty, I can't believe it. When my roommate came home, he was livid. He actually did a no, like in the movies. He knew it was me and accused me of making him waste 100 hours of his life on nothing, and that he would have to start the game over again. I said, well, I hear it's a good game. I'm sure you'll have fun. And he was like, why did you do this to me? And I said, maybe this time when you rebuild your inventory, you'll find some beans on your own. He was shocked silent, and then said he couldn't believe I ruined his entire month just because he wanted to share my beans. Share. He said what I did was beyond the pale and not a proportional response, and said that he will never forgive me. It is awkward living here, I have to admit now. Some of my friends who played the Baldur's Gate 3 have said I did overreact and that I sabotaged his entire game, saying a run of a game can take over 130 hours, but he was the one who ate my beans. I'm conflicted though, maybe I did overreact? Am I the a-hole? This man loves his beans, eh? Guys. I mean, okay, would I be annoyed if on multiple occasions my roommate ate the food that is expensive that I buy for myself and would call it that it's a shared thing, and after multiple tries of me telling them that you should not be doing that, they would still do it? Oh, I would be livid and I would be quite pissed, and I would probably start hiding my beans in my room somewhere so that my roommate wouldn't find them. Deleting 100 hours worth of game? And spending hours on it? Can you believe it? You get so petty over beans that you go ahead, spend hours throwing gear off the cliff and then deleting all the saves just so that you could hurt your roommate for eating your beans. This story is the funniest story that I've read in this thread. My verdict on this story would be that the roommate is the a-hole and this person is the a-hole. I feel like there needs to be way more communication happening between these two people, and maybe instead of deleting their game, the person could have gotten them to reimburse the money for the beans, maybe replace the beans every time they use the beans. I feel like that would be a fair solution. Mixed responses here. Some people say not the a-hole, he needs to learn manners, but he will think twice before taking advantage of you again, good job. Some people say you're the a-hole. A long comment here that I'm very interested to read because that person is a Baldur's Gate 3 player. Baldur's Gate 3 player here, and I have to say, everyone sucks here. Yes. Although I do agree that your roommate shouldn't have touched your food, especially if they were expensive in any way, and he should always reimburse you in some way, whether it be via cash or a little basket full of those little things. If he does in fact eat them again, but you didn't need to go to the lengths you went to get back at him. Yes, the game is very fun, but a lot of people don't want to have to start all the way over from the jump once they've reached a part of the game and only ever start over once they are finished with the whole game. You shouldn't have talked with him. You should have talked with him, saying how you didn't feel comfortable with, nor appreciate him taking and eating your things without permission, especially if it was a little pricey. Tell him to ask you first and you could make a bean dinner for the both of you, and or reimburse you in some way for eating them. I don't like it when people eat my food without saying something to me first either, but this was a tiny bit childish on your part. You could have honestly eaten some of his fancy favorite food and call it a day. I think that is a fair comment. And someone replies, thank heaven some TikToker read this aloud so this post could be resurfaced. For more content, the Rancho Gordo beans are not only expensive, for good reason if you read about their sourcing, etc., but if the poster was in the RG Bean Club, he likely waited several years to get off the waitlist. Took me about 3 years. And the shipments come with some special Bean Club only beans you can't just buy on the side. I know this probably sounds insane, but there are multiple Bean Club Facebook groups, one that allows spoilers for the bean box and one that doesn't. Rancho Gordo fans are serious about their beans. The roommate could rework up to his video game process in 100 hours. The writer might have never gotten a specific varietal of heirloom bean again. Whoa. So we got a Baldur's Gate player point of view plus a Rancho Gordo bean lover point of view here. And in my opinion, the final verdict is everyone sucks here. You know that story with not exploding myself to please my ex-girlfriend? I had a little bit of time to think on it, and I think I'm gonna go ahead with it. Bye bye!